This episode of Q Point Podcast is pre-recorded, produced and sponsored by Karina Quirk, broker at Next Home Experience.
Different views.
I know your story.
From different Q's.
Incredible job.
He's David Quirk.
You brought it up.
And she's Karina Quirk.
Imagine.
This is
Q Point.
Thank you for joining us for part 2 with Maine State Senator and Democratic candidate for Maine's 2nd Congressional District, Joe Baldacci. Thank you so much for joining us.
Speaking of health care, what are your thoughts on universal health care?
I support universal health care. I support the idea that health care is a human right. We're going to have to do it, though, in a fiscally responsible way. But first of all, we got to solve the problems with Social Security and Medicare before we can tackle that issue. But I think that Medicare could be expanded to people ages 55 and older. And I think that would be a way to not only help people who are near retirement, but also potentially reduce health insurance costs for them. So I do support it. It's going to take a lot of work in terms of what is the fiscally responsible path, because I'm also concerned about the amount of debt that this country is racking up and what we're getting or not getting for that.
MaineCare and Medicare, what do you think about the fraud that's going on? And would you be concerned with universal health care, there'd be even more fraud?
First of all, the fraud needs to be prosecuted. I think the Attorney General and the other officers of the state need to be more willing to answer questions. I've criticized this administration on a number of issues that hasn't made me popular with this administration, the one in Augusta as well as the one in Washington. But I think they need to do a better job of explaining to the public what's going on, what the real issues are, and not just make it a me versus Trump thing, because that obfuscates the issue of what did happen. And if their law is broken, they need to be prosecuted to the full extent. But I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater in the sense that we should have a safety net healthcare program. I understand that there's going to be problems, but just because there are problems in one area doesn't mean we throw out the entire program and how it serves the other 95% of the population.
Let's pivot to Lewiston. What are your thoughts on the funds that were appropriated to several nonprofits that had nothing to do with the Lewiston survivors?
These are issues, to be honest with you, that the Attorney General should be on top of, that he needs to explain what's going on, because he's the one that has authority to assign law enforcement, to get records, to review the cases before they go to court, to hold a grand jury if there's wrongdoing. So I think we need to be better informed on that as well. But I think that's a very tragic situation. Families suffered horrific losses, and for people to scam them is despicable. So obviously they need to be prosecuted if that's what happened.
So do you think that the constitutional officers should be elected through a popular vote instead of through the legislature?
I absolutely think they should be voted on by the people, not the legislature. It might have been a good idea in 1820, but now it is 2026, and we can trust the people for voting for U.S. Senator and Representative and State Senator and all the other offices. We can trust them to vote for the Attorney General and the Secretary of State and the Auditor and the Treasurer. The other thing is that when we talk about some of these problems, the audit, the MaineCare fraud, or not explaining stuff to the public, part of the problem is that it's an inside club, okay? And I have been one of those Democrats that has consistently fought for popular election. I voted for all the Republican bills for it. I sponsored my own bills for it. This is not something that I see as a partisan issue. It doesn't matter whether Republicans are in control of Democrats or the Democrats are in control. I think that these people need to be responsible not to an insider group. And that's what it has become. And I felt that before I got to the Senate. First of all, it's very archaic. And second of all, it only helps those people in the legislature.
Tell me, how was the spaghetti dinner down there in Auburn?
Well, the mayor was there and some of the state reps were there, and we had a great conversation. Mostly seniors from Auburn came out, and we had a great conversation about Social Security and Medicare and health care, because obviously those were some of the top concerns. My nephew, Paul, who has inherited the family tradition and the sauce recipe, prepared a beautiful sauce, beautiful meatballs. Part of his secret of the meatballs, not giving anything away, is in addition to the hamburger, he adds a little bit of pork. So it makes them more substantial. And then he made cannolis. So when we went into the American Legion Hall to set up, there were some people from the American Legion that were there a little skeptical of us, which is fine, which is normal. But we won them over with some cannolis, and they were smiling and gave them some meatballs, and they were very happy.
So when is your next spaghetti dinner?
I think we're going to try to do one in Belfast later this month. I don't have the exact date right this second, but I think we're looking at Belfast as the next one.
Ooh, maybe we can go down to that one.
Yeah. But Belfast has a great Italian restaurant anyway.
Certainly does.
Yes, it does.
Delvino's. I tried to get in a couple weeks ago, and it was like, no seats for you. Yeah.
So this secret recipe, is it in a safe somewhere?
Oh, it's in his head. But, when my mother was still alive, we had started marketing it at Hannaford and putting it out there with the breadsticks. But that would be a goal at some point, I think, would be a good goal for Paul to work on, is trying to market the sauce locally. You could do well with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you must be getting around to the caucuses.
I went to the Bangor caucus, and then I went to Lewiston and Auburn, and they had a great turnout of probably 150 people down there. And then I went to the Augusta caucus that had probably almost 100 people. It was very packed. Yeah, it was good to talk to people and get questions and get feedback and see what people are thinking. As I said, a lot of people are concerned about the economy and about the direction, and they just want to see some improvement. A lot of the rank and file Democrats that I run into are not Trump supporters, obviously, but they understand that we need to get something done and that you have to work with people in order to get stuff done. Because rank and file Democrats, like everyone else, have jobs, have lives, have families, and they just want to see something better. And I think that's the same for independents and Republicans. We all have different perspectives, but I think that the Democrats that I've talked to are very concerned about the direction of the country.
Was there any straw polling done at any of the caucuses?
No. We have so many offices. It would take forever, potentially.
So what distinguishes you from the other candidates running for Maine's 2nd Congressional District?
Thank you for the question. So I'm the only candidate in either party that has won an election in the last 10 years. I've won 4 of them. In each time I've been elected to the state senate in the general election, I've run 6 or 7 points ahead of the national ticket, which is what we have to do in this district in order to win and be competitive. I think you have to reach out to everybody, not just your base. So that's one major difference. The other is that I'm also the only candidate that has a significant legislative record within the last 8 years. So you can see all my votes, and I've had to be there on a lot of tough votes on a lot of different issues. And that's important if you want to represent people in Congress, because you're going to have to take a lot of tough votes. There's not going to be a lot of time just to sit and wonder what you should do. In the last 6 years, I've gone through maybe a couple thousand votes on a variety of issues. And mostly, I think I've responded to what people want. But it's important that people know what your record is and what you're going to stand for. So those would be 2 significant differences. And I have a different approach to politics. It's more personal and more based on what is it that I can do for you versus I'm going to have a 10-point platform of X, Y, and Z policies. I understand the important issues: jobs, education, healthcare, Social Security. Those are the important issues. I don't have to tell people what the important issues are. They know them. They want somebody who can do something and help them.
Now, besides running and going to all these caucuses, you do have a full-time job.
I know, and my wife reminds me on a regular basis that I have a full-time job.
Well, you're the business owner, right?
Yes, but I think slowly she's taking a larger role and helping me out quite a bit. So yes, I'm an attorney. I've been practicing for 35 years. I started my own practice, which a lot of people think is scary, and it was in the beginning. But over 35 years, I've built a practice that supports, we have 7 people working total, including myself. And I've been meeting a payroll for 35 years. And it's not General Motors, but it's important. Just represent thousands of people from all walks of life, good, bad, or indifferent. There's a variety of cases you can go over. But generally now I'm focusing on family law. I've done a lot of divorce and custody cases, but I've also done some probate and some other stuff like that. So it's been a wide variety. And I've also worked with small business people in terms of setting up corporations and helping them with lawsuits locally. So there's plenty of business, but in this area, you can't really be a legal specialist like in one area, like you could be maybe in Portland or Boston. You have to be like a doctor as a general practitioner. because people have a variety of needs. It's just the only way to represent people, unless you're in a big law firm that has corporate clients, which that's not what I've done. I'm going to try to juggle as best as possible, but it's a juggle.
So obviously you must have had some cases where you had to represent some people that might have been tough to represent.
Yeah, there are a lot of cases like that, but you have to use your legal skill and also defend the Constitution and make sure they're getting handled fairly by the government. So it's not just about them, it's about making sure they are given due process, that they're treated fairly. And really, that's what the Constitution and that's what the law expects. But yes, unfortunately, as part of my job, I've represented a wide variety of people, but it's all part of my learning process and becoming a better lawyer, because you develop skills in each case. You learn new things. It's not just about the person. It's also about the process. And it's important to be in court in front of a judge, and arguing in front of a judge is a very important skill that you want to do that as often as you can as a lawyer, particularly when you're starting out.
Right, because constitutionally, everybody deserves representation.
Right.
And no matter if they're guilty or not guilty.
Right. To be honest with you, for the first 20 years of my practice, I did a lot of court-appointed work, which is what is a public defender essentially now. I stopped doing it probably 15 years ago because, one, it didn't pay much, not like it does today, but it was also, I didn't need to do it. And I felt I had already paid my dues in that area. Because the court is, if you talk to the judges, they have a shortage of attorneys doing criminal defense work, which has caused a crisis. But yeah, I stopped doing public defender work a while ago because I felt I paid my dues and it was time for another generation to get on it.
I'm curious, what do you think about cashless bail?
I opposed it. I have worked with Chief Martin, Chris Martin, who's a great guy. I've known him for a long time. And I've said this in the Senate that, yes, I'm an attorney. But when I'm down here, I'm a state senator representing people, the public. That's how I voted. I've opposed cashless bail in most situations. I mean, there's some situations where it makes sense if it's nonviolent and it's minor or something. But it can't just be a blanket policy of cashless bail. And I've supported tougher penalties on drug traffickers. And there was a bill to allow injection sites, which would have been a blanket drug legalization that I opposed. I was one of like 2 or 3 Democrats. We were able to kill it in the Senate because it had passed the House. And even Austin Terrio, the Republican candidate, voted for it in the House. But I couldn't vote for it because it would be a blanket legalization of drugs. And it's never been tried. They talk about Vancouver, but it's never been tried in the United States. I think the only place they're looking at it is New York City. Well, we are a long way from adopting the policies of New York City for Bangor, Maine. We don't need to add to our problems. I guess I have what my kids would call kind of a dad perspective, okay? But you have to. I mean, you got to think about how it's going to affect other people. So I opposed that, and it was not very popular with my party or some others, and I got a lot of criticism for that. But that was another vote that I had to take. That was tough, but I had to do it in order for that bill to die and for it not to happen, because it would have opened up a Pandora's box of problems that we don't need more of. Those would be one of those legislative votes.
So if you do serve on the House Committee of Transportation and Infrastructure in Congress, would you then focus on maybe bringing the train to Bangor?
Yes. The short answer is yes. There are many passenger rail advocates in Congress because they enjoy passenger rail going through their district. And I would definitely join that group, but also advocate. Yeah, it's an economic development tool as well as anything else. Vermont has a direct line from Burlington to D.C., which is a state half of our size in terms of population or whatever. Plus, the issue of rural transportation is important, access, and it's all part of that. But the major thing I see is an economic development plus. You know, the area around the Brunswick area where the train came in has developed. So I just see it as an economic development plus for a bunch of towns, not just Bangor. But ideally, I'd like to see it go up to the county. But that will take time.
And down east.
And down east, yeah. And they're talking about going to Rockland with the Amtrak. The problem is they need to go inland. Their vision is not to go inland, but that's where we need to serve people. People in Rockland generally know how to get to Rockland. It's a beautiful seaside community. It's like adding riches to riches, you know what I mean? Versus going more inland where you're going to serve real people. So I'm concerned about those priorities. And I also think that we need to increase the technology and the speed of our trains and have some sort of national program in terms of the tracks, because we need to have 21st century tracks in order to make it feasible for people.
I'm sure University of Maine would love it. So if their team is playing in Portland or Boston, the students can hop on a train and get down to a sporting event.
Yeah, or go up to a sporting event.
Or go skiing up to Fort Kent.
Right. Or come from Boston to the waterfront concerts.
Yeah.
No, I see it increasing commercial traffic and being economically positive.
Well, for listeners that may not know, it was Senator Olympia Snowe and your brother when he was congressman, right?
Yeah,
that
they
brought
were
the
both.
train.
Olympia Snowe was on the Senate Transportation Committee. John was on the House Transportation Committee. And they were able to get the Amtrak to Portland. But as I've said numerous times down in Augusta, John from Bangor and Olympia from Auburn never intended that it just stay in Portland. People in Portland forget that. And we're already subsidizing Portland. So they should be required to pay money for us to use the train, because people think, oh, it's doing so well. It's doing well and it's important, but it's still receiving a public subsidy. And these type of things would have to. I have talked to CSX in the past. While they have said they themselves are willing to negotiate and have this, because they've done it in other states. The major problem, and this is not a secret, the people in Augusta know my opinion, the Department of Transportation has put up a huge, huge roadblock to anybody trying to increase passenger rail. They have got everybody trained to say no. They've got their whole policies directed to no. They've made sure that everybody understands that that's where they're coming from and that people need to toe the line. And that's a problem. Obviously, if I get to Congress, I don't have to necessarily worry about them as much. And if I can have federal support, I think that will make a huge difference.
So will John be going out on the campaign trail with you?
I think that ex-governors go to Florida and they get sun and they play golf. He said that he will be here in May. He's waiting for the right climate and that he wants to do 2 suppers, one in Presque Isle and one in Lewiston. So we'll do those when he comes back. It's more peaceful when he's not there because he tries to control everything in the kitchen. And just because I'm his younger brother, he thinks he knows more than everyone else.
I know what that's like.
Exactly, David. Thank you. So anyway, yes, I'm looking forward to it. He's very much engaged in the campaign in terms of talking to people and reaching out to people for me, which is great support. We've worked together on campaigns. I used to work with him in the restaurant. We had to make garlic breads until they came up to here and have them all ready to go. So I'm appreciative of the family support.
So when voters walk into the booth, why should they choose Joe Baldacci?
Because they want a representative that's going to be fighting for them, that's going to be thinking about them and their problems, and that is going to come back to their community and talk to them and see what their concerns are.
So what's the best way for people to get involved in your campaign?
Thank you for asking, David.
You are welcome.
Baldacciforcongress.com. They can go on that site and they can message us, or they can just leave a message at my office, 207-945-3333, and we'll respond. We would love to have your support in the primary, but also it'd be great for people to donate money and to help us with this cause.
How are the donations coming? Because this is different for you to be calling for donations.
Right. It's coming good. It's work. I have to go to work after this and do some more of that work. We're having a fundraiser in Cape Elizabeth this Thursday. Dan Claben, who owns the Maine Bear Company, is going to do a fundraiser for us at the end of March down Freeport. So I'm reaching out to Southern Maine, obviously, as well. A lot of people have been very responsive, and we're raising money, and it's been good. It's been gratifying.
Senator Joe Baldacci and Democratic candidate for Maine's 2nd Congressional District. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, this is always a pleasure. And the next time will be number 4, so
Yes.
I'll be even more of a regular. But I enjoy this. It's a great conversation, and I really appreciate it, David and Karina. Thank you. You guys always do a great job. I always enjoy myself. These are very informative discussions, and I think that the public really enjoys listening and learning. So thank you.
Well, thank you for your time, and we'll have a gift for you next time because you're now a regular.
Okay.
Yes, you are. And by the way, when the spaghetti dinner is closer by, I am expecting 2 meatballs.
Okay.
Because I only got 1 last time.
The closest one will be in Orono in May. So
good to know. With John?
Well, he might come to it, but he's committed to 2. So we'll see if he can do more than that. But that would be good, too. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Thank you, Karina.
Thank you for taking the time.
Hey, thank you.
You've been listening to Q Point.
Follow us at qpointpodcast.com or on your favorite streaming app.
This is where you can get the news from the people who make the news.
Make sure to join us next time.
We hope you tune in.
Q Point Podcast invites guests and candidates from all parties to join the conversation. The views, information, opinions, and comments expressed during this program do not necessarily represent those of the host, Q Point Podcast, associates, affiliates, and CQRE LLC.
Thanks for being a part of the conversation. The most important voices aren't always the loudest ones. They're the voices of everyday people, raising families, running businesses, serving their towns. That's who we want to hear from. Share your ideas with us online, and let's make sure those voices are never left out. Find us on Facebook or on X or at qpointpodcast.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Catch every episode at qpointpodcast.com or wherever you stream. Tune in and tell your friends.